Happy Friday, everyone, and welcome to the latest edition of Richard Skipper Celebrates. Who or what are you celebrating today? I've always said that I believe that every day is worth celebrating when we take the time to do so. And there are so many people that I love to celebrate in this business that we call show because they're creating, they're getting out there, and they are really on the firing line day after day after day after day. Today's theme is going to be built around the word teamwork. I've always said that no matter how many one man and one person shows you think you're doing, there's no such thing because it takes a team. It takes a team of great people to work around you. And we have five artists today who will celebrate that along with me. And I'm sure they all agree. Nobody knows who I'm bringing up first. So I'm going to just hit a random number. And there we are, Frank Dain.
Hi, Richard. Frank. Hi, thank you for having me.
Well, it's nice to be had, isn't it?
Isn't it? Yes. So after a certain age, it's really nice. Yes.
Especially after a certain age. But I want to let everyone know that you are going to be appearing at Don't Tell Mama. I already have my tickets.
Thank you.
On the 7th. And you're celebrating 24 years in the making.
Mm-hmm.
And I mean, how did you come up with that?
What does that mean, Richard?
You've been around a little longer.
Well, the first thing is we're celebrating the release of my new CD, I've Had a Love. But when I was convinced by Kathleen Landis, my music director and co-producer, and Kurt Peterson, my co-producer and voice teacher, that I should do a show, I said, well, I don't want to just do the entire CD. I want the CD to stand on its own. You go into a recording studio, that's what that's all about, right? Mm-hmm. So I said, oh, you know what? 24 years ago, when I released my first CD, I never did a show. So we are celebrating 2001 and 2025. So the celebration,
really been 24 years?
It's 24 years.
Wow.
2001. Yeah, where have I been?
Well, you've been around, obviously.
I've been around, but yeah.
I was, I have that CD, and I cannot believe it's been 24 years.
Yeah, 24 years. It was released, talk about timing, the week before 9/11.
Right.
So I remember we had started to work on a show, and I don't remember 24 years later why that never happened. So I did have a little party just to celebrate, but I never did a show, never got a chance to sing any of the songs. So this show is a celebration of that CD and the new CD, and I'm doing songs from both, which is fun. Yeah.
I am, old enough. I'm a little bit older than you, I think. But I'm old enough to remember going into a record store, going through the record bins, getting an album, and it was all about the packaging, the cover art, the arc of the album. And I am one of those sticklers. I listen to a lot of music on streaming devices now, but when possible, I like to listen to everything in the order that these songs were picked. And I'm sure that with you, there's a certain rhythm or order to the order of the songs on your album. Am I correct?
Absolutely. That was the hardest part. I knew what song was going to be the last song, and I knew what was going to be the encore. Everything before that was up for grabs. But it wasn't until we had really started to work on the final songs that we had chosen that we realized there was a story here. And I know a lot of people go on streaming and they hunt and peck. They don't listen to things in order, but that didn't matter to me. I wanted this CD for those who still do that. And I know a lot of people still do that. I wanted them to listen from beginning to end and hear the story that these songs are telling. And I'm very pleased with what we finally came up with. And I think it's important, people do a lot of work. They put a lot of work into selecting the songs, finding the arrangements, picking the musicians, but then even more time goes into sequencing the record. I think if you listen to those records from the 40s, 50s, and 60s, they really were sequenced perfectly, I thought.
And I'm
Because
sure that you'll agree with me when I say this. I think that the master at doing that was Frank Sinatra with his
oh yeah,
concept
yeah,
albums. Yes.
right,
And
and Mathis and Johnny Mathis as
Johnny
well.
Mathis, I was about to mention him. He
Yeah,
was about to do his final concert. And of course, you have celebrated Johnny Mathis for years.
yeah, he's my favorite male singer, and
Yes. Barbara
there's
Streisand's too.
well,
Did you know that?
and yes, and she is actually my favorite singer of all time.
Yes.
But yeah, there's something about him. I never get tired of listening to him. And you're right, Sinatra, Mathis, even Streisand in some of those early years, they all made sure that the songs were in the right sequence to change the mood, to maybe tell a story, to have some variety from top to bottom. And remember, we used to switch albums over,
Yes.
so the first side was one thing and the second side was something else.
Think
So
about that. I mean, the days that we had to get up to flip the album over,
I know.
we had to get up to change the channel on the TV.
That's well, and this kind of goes with your theme today because that took a little bit of teamwork, right?
It took teamwork,
To get up and
absolutely.
flip the channel, flip the album, and it got to the point where albums that I listened to over and over again, if I would hear a song in a store or something, I say, "Oh, that's the third cut on the first side of so and so."
Mhm.
And people would look at me like, "You need to get a life, because why do you know this?" I don't know it any longer, but it was ingrained in you because these artists took the time to make sure that the listening audience got the most out of the work that they had done. And I think whether someone's going to skip around an album or not, I still would stress anybody doing an album, sequence them in a way that makes sense for those of us who listen from top to bottom.
So let's talk a little bit about a Bistro Award winner this year, and that's Kathleen Landis.
Yes,
You
finally.
have such a long history with one another. What is it about the two of you coming together and creating music, and the fact that 24 years later, I mean, was she there at the very beginning? She
No,
was it?
actually, that was Rick Jensen at the
Okay.
very beginning.
Oh,
It
God
was
bless him.
Rick, and then for a number of years, I didn't do anything. And Kathleen needed somebody to design a brochure for her, so I did that. And when that was done, I handed her my CD. And a few days later, I get a call from her. She said, "Come to my house. We're going to sing." I said, "Oh," she said, I love what I'm listening to, and I want to work with you. Now, who doesn't want to hear that,
That's great.
right? You
That's
know,
great.
and she was working at the Cafe Pierre at that time. She'd been there by the time they closed it. It had been 21 years. And
Wow.
so she said, "Oh, we're going to do a night at the Pierre, and I'm going to have you come in and do some songs. And then, oh, I'm going to sing at this nursing home, or I'm going to sing at the Waldorf Astoria, at the Cocktail Terrace. Come and sing with me." So she's just been a champion from the beginning. And I've learned a lot from her because she's got a very strong classical and jazz background.
Well, Frank,
And so
I
that's just
want to
great.
bring on our next guest,
Okay, because
and
I can
actually,
keep talking.
no, no, no. We have a lot to cover there, and I want to get as much out there as we can.
Yes.
But there are four incredible women waiting in the wings, and you're
Okay,
going to
here they
bring on
come.
the next one. So you pull a number 1 through 4,
Oh, 4.
and that is my dear friend Shelley Goldstein.
Hello.
Hello.
Shelley,
Hello.
of course, is very busy right now. She is one of the 4 writers on this incredible new series on, as she tells us, our favorite network, the CW network, Sherlock and Daughter. And first of all, welcome back to the show. You're one of my favorite.
Thank you, darling Richard.
And do you realize that we were together 1 year ago this week when I was at the Santa Monica Playhouse?
That's right. That's right. Yes, it was a great show. We all had such a good time.
Well, meet Frank, and Frank, meet Shelley.
Hi, Shelley.
So, Shelley, I want to ask, first of all, about this project. How do four writers have the same mission in terms of getting the story across that you wish to get across?
Well, it's especially impressive when we didn't have a writer's room. We had a writer's Zoom because we were doing this during the
Wow.
pandemic. Like any organization, there's compartmentalizing. The show was created by the brilliant and wonderful Brendan Foley. Our showrunner was James Duff, who has done so much fantastic television. And then the other two writers were me and Micah Wright. We all knew what we wanted the show to be, and it's a very, very new take on Sherlock Holmes, one of the most beloved characters in the world. There's a lot of Sherlock out there right now. Sherlock is being played by David Thewlis, who's one of the greatest living actors right now. He's everything from the Harry Potter movies to so much stuff by the Coen brothers. Lots of British theater. I mean, he's really something wonderful. And what I enjoy is we're looking at what I call the Lion in Winter Sherlock. Robert Downey and Benedict Cumberbatch, as I like to call him. He's sort of young, hot, adorable Sherlock. And this is Sherlock later in his life, and he's done it all. And he's sort of thinking about what matters to him at this point in his life. And he knows he's still the best at what he does. He's no less cocky about his own talents, but things have happened in his life that are making him look at life a little bit differently. And we have a wonderful plot that again, through teamwork, we all put together. That our show takes place 19 years before the start of World War I.
Wow.
And in addition to a lot of personal things happening, it's nearing the end of the Victorian era. And crime is changing. Crime is changing from one man where there was a knife and someone, we have to find out how that person died. It's more about the industrialization of crime, which we're still kind of dealing with today. And we all, if I may say so, we were four very good writers. We liked each other. We got on. We listened to each other. There was a hierarchy, yes, but there was respect for everyone's thoughts. And you beat out your season, and then you sort of figure out how to break it into. We had 8 episodes, so you do it in 8 chunks. And each
do you think in terms of a through line for the entire series, or do you think of each episode as its own individual entity?
It's both, because it's like any other serial. A lot more television now is an arc over a season. And that's definitely what we're doing. But within that, every episode brings you new challenges, new mysteries, new questions to be answered, new doors to be opened. So it's just, it's all coordination of.
And the reviews have been out of this world. Are you surprised at the response that this show is getting?
I'm surprised when someone doesn't, open up the door and throw me out in the street and say, "You're done with show business." I'm just thrilled that people are liking it. It's such a great cast. I also have to mention Blue Hunt plays Ann Daughter. We'll see what that means later in the season. We have a magnificent actress, Fiona Glascott, who plays our Cruella de Vil, the Lady Violet. This marvelous scenery-chewing villain. And Dougray Scott plays Professor Moriarty. And then just a vast variety of young British, Irish, Australian actors who are just spectacularly good. So it's just been a joy. Whether we're doing a cabaret show or a musical or a play or a TV show or a film, the fact that we get to play in the sandbox is so wonderful. And sometimes we even get paid.
That's a novelty, especially in cabaret.
What is she talking about? What is she talking about?
That's incredible. Well, so you're gonna stick around, obviously,
Of course.
but you're gonna help us bring on our next guest. And so you pull door number 1, door number 2, or door number 3.
Well, Monty, I'm going to take door number 1.
And that is, first of all, when I saw her show last year, I became an instant fan, and I wasn't alone because how many shows did you do in that run, Elvira?
7.
And you sold out. She sold out every single one. And it wasn't
Wow.
just that she was selling out. People were coming over and over and over again. She won the Bistro Award for the show. And now she's taking the show on the road.
I'm so excited. I'm taking it to the Catskills.
Yes.
Oh, thank you,
Yes.
Richard. Thank you.
So tell me, what is it? This the arc of you getting the idea that you want to do this show, and then let's talk about your team that you put together to make this happen, and the journey that that team has put you on.
So I was incredibly fortunate. I was, as I've said before, 33 years in the fashion industry. So talk about teamwork. I worked with a lot of people, and from a little salesperson straight up to being a corporate executive. And so when I was retired, so to speak, I decided that I wanted to do what I had always wanted to do, which was to sing and to act. And I was so fortunate that through Celeste Simone, she got me to Lena Koutrakis, and Lena was running and she still does, what she calls an advanced performance workshop, and it was at Don't Tell Mama, and I just audited it, and she asked me to, it was okay that I could join. And so every Saturday through the pandemic, on Zoom, so from Don't Tell Mama to Zoom, I was singing for and just trying out with a slew of what ended up being my peers, these wonderful women and men that were in the class. And then finally, when we got to after the pandemic, we finally got to be back at Mama. I started to just sing a song and do patter, sing a song and do patter to and I had these ideas, and that group was my sounding board, was everything. And really my show just kind of worked from my living room to that Saturday. What do you think about this? What do you think about that? And in the end, of course, it was Gregory Toroyan and Lena Koutrakis who put everything together. I had that vision, but there was so much of me just standing up there and saying, all right, I've got an idea for this part of my life, and I'm going to tell you the story. And I sometimes I got, and sometimes I got raves. And with that enthusiasm and then that feedback from them, I was able to sit down and it just flowed. So I am incredibly grateful to how that trajectory just started. And never in a million years did I think that I would ever stand in front of 8 audiences and tell them a story about my life as the daughter of a bookie.
Which is a great show. But I want to say, you bring up a couple of people that I want to give a shout out to. Lena Koutrakis was my very first director in Cabaret. And thank God she's still around and thriving, and she was incredible at the MAC Awards, by the way.
Oh my God.
Very funny. And also Celeste Simone is a neighbor of mine, and we're working together now. So she says, what took us so long? I'm having the best time with these people, and I just love when all of this comes together. You're going to help us bring on our next guest.
Okay.
So door number 1 or door number 2?
I'm going to go with door number 2.
And she is the new kid on the block. She's just making her cabaret debut. And she's got, speaking of incredible teams, her musical director, John Fisher, played for my off-Broadway show celebrating Carol Channing. and Lenny Watts, of course, who was on the show last week. So Janice, welcome to the show, and
Thank you.
talk about what teamwork means to you, and especially putting this new show together.
Yeah, I think I tend to be a quieter person. And so in a team, I do need to look for people that can actually give me some time to hear me, if that makes any sense.
Absolutely.
And when I first met Lenny, I was actually concerned because, you know, Lenny is quite, he's funny and he can be loud. And when I took his class, you know, he suggested a certain joke for me. I was taking the Cab Lab course where you work on pattern and chat, and then you do a 3-song set. And he had proposed a certain joke that would never be something I would say. It was my first class with him, and I was so nervous. So between two people going up to work, I went over and I sat next to him, and I looked him in the eye and I said, I know you want a laugh line there, but I'm going to work on something else. And that was kind of my moment, like, what's going to happen? And of course, he was great with that. And so it's that wonderful thing where he was like, hey, let's have a laugh line there. And then kind of letting me explore and, you know, giving some feedback on that. So that made me feel very comfortable to team up with him to do a solo show. And then John Fisher, quite similarly, you know him. Mm-hmm. He's so open to different ideas, and he also has a great enthusiasm. We laugh so much when we're working on things. So I think that, you know, finding a team that is listening, is having fun together. Mm-hmm. I think those things are important. And I think you kind of alluded to this, like the cabaret community is like a big team in a sense. So I've been supported Helen Baldessari, Bobby Pico. I started out with Gregory Teroyan. And Katie Nyhausel, she helped me with the marketing. I needed to know, what's my show about? You know, I had the stories and the songs, and she was so sweet. She got on the phone with me for an hour. She said, well, tell me about your show. And then she summed it up. She was like, oh, Janice, this is what your show's about. And so I was able to work with her to describe it. But, you know, it took that team for her to reflect back to me what my show was about, which was very cool.
Well, Janice, I'm going to bring on Anne in just a moment. But before I do, I want to ask, you said, you know, that you're a very quiet, shy person. Why do a cabaret show?
I know it confuses many people. My mom has since passed away, but she saw me perform once, and she said she didn't know it was me for the first like 5 minutes.
Oh, wow.
Wow.
You know, I think it's Dave Sabella down in Puerto Vallarta. I went to their workshop, and he said something about cabaret performers like self-selecting, which I don't fully know what that means, but it's like there's just a weird thing that I moved to do this art form. And I guess on stage, I feel more permission to speak up and take up space, and you can have a real conversation with the audience, which is really my favorite thing.
Well, I'm going to bring on someone who has incredible conversations with her audiences. She's going to be at Chelsea Tables on the 8th, the night after Frank Dain show. I mean, that's my cabaret
week.
Coupling. I have tickets for both of you. So Anne, welcome to the show.
Hello, everyone.
You and I have had many conversations over the years. Anne and I are very close friends, and we've had many conversations, and we have shared frustrations. We have shared things that we love about the business, what we don't like about the business. We've had these conversations, but it's taken you, not to take away from anyone that you've worked with, because you've worked with some incredible collaborators, But it seems to me as if the team that you have in place right now, you're hitting a bullseye, in at least in my estimation, every time you step out of the gate.
Yeah, I've hit the sweet spot. I have. You know, I am loyal. I am a loyal person. But I have certain criteria before someone, you know, comes into my creative family. And it's extremely rare. It's extremely rare for me to not always go back to those people, because I do. I believe in loyalty. I believe the more we work, the more we understand each other. We know, you know, what perspective this person's going to give me, and that, and they also are beginning to know how I think. And listen, I've been married 39 years, and my husband's still trying to figure that out. So. You know, it's but it is so joyful. I mean, there are times, you know, any project I do usually starts with me, Chris Denny, and Barry Kleinbort, and it is inevitable that we are sitting, well, Chris is at the piano, Barry and I are just like huddled around him or sitting or whatever, working, and at some point one person stops for a moment and goes, "Oh my God, I'm having so much fun." And that is the best moment. You know what I mean? Because we're intense and we're, oh my gosh, I'm having fun.
Well, Anne, you have an extensive theatrical background.
I do.
And if I remember correctly, and I may be right or wrong on this, you made your cabaret debut at the Metropolitan Room with Richard J. Alexander as your director. And of course, I mean, no slouch. I mean, Barbara Streisand is, you know, he's her director as well. Bringing that together, he saw you perform somewhere, didn't he? And
no, he hadn't seen me perform. So he actually did my debut at 54 Below.
Oh, okay.
And no, he, I have found out since, and I didn't know at the time, but someone very close to me invited him to check me out on YouTube. And he watched whatever he watched, and he called me one day. I guess he got the phone number from the same person. But anyway, called me out of the blue, and he said, "I really like what I see. Let's meet at Ripley Greer. Bring all your music." Now, this man doesn't know me. All my music, I brought 2 enormous suitcases, and it was maybe a quarter of my music, right? And I before he got there, I played it all over the tables and stuff. And I know that when he walked in, I realized, oh my God, he thinks I'm insane. He never intended me to bring all this music. Like, you know what I mean? Like, I just took him literally. I shouldn't have, you know? But anyway, he looked through it. He picked out a few songs, we sang, and he said, "I'm going to direct your next show." I was like, okay. He said, "I think you deserve it. I think you deserve, you know." And so he did. He directed my first show.
Wow. What do you think has changed from that moment when you did your, before he even got involved, when you were at the Metropolitan Room, to where you are now, about to do your new show, Trusty Tables? What is the one thing that you feel has been the biggest transformation with Anne Kittredge?
My confidence, and the fact that I found my creative family. You can't replace them. They're just, you know, it's so joyful, and they also understand me. You know, when I'm working on a show, my entire attention is on serving the audience. You know what I mean? And you know, I want them to feel safe. I want them to feel like they're being taken care of. I want them to not worry about anything. The minute the show starts, don't worry, we got you. You're going to be able to relax and enjoy. And they understand that about me. They understand that that's my drive. And it's so much fun. They're so creative too. I mean, Barry Kleinbort keeps writing me specialty lyrics. He's so brilliant.
I know.
I mean, oh my God. And can I just say, I want to go back to something. Frank, I can't tell you how much I agree with you about the difference between an album and a show. I had a reviewer once said to me, the album should work just as much as a show as a show. And I stared at her and I was like, no. I was like,
They're different. Yeah.
It's very different. I mean, they both have an arc, but there's no. I thought that was so frightening that anyone would even imagine that could be true. So I totally agree with you, and I just wanted to throw that out. I think they're two different arcs.
That's great. Well, I'm going to have a little fun with all of you. I hope you'll have fun with me as well. Because, I do a lot of, my weeks are based on soul searching. I read a lot of books on the creative process and everything. And so these questions that I pulled today are all based on my readings for this week and what the creative process is like. And I'm going to start with you, Frank. And the question is, what has energized you the most this week when it comes to your own work? And if there's something that you've seen either in a cabaret room, in a Broadway theater, something that inspired you artistically this week as well. So first about yourself, and then something that you saw that inspired you this week.
Well, I think what it was is that I looked at the calendar and saw I had 2 weeks before opening night. And I said, oh, you have to write pattern. As I told you, my least favorite thing to do. But that was the thing that inspired me to really just say, okay, now's the time to do this. You haven't done a show in 13 years. You really have to start thinking about what you're going to say. And I've already gone through 3 drafts. I whittle it down and make it more concise. 2 things this week. One is that Kathleen Landis and I have been working a lot in fine-tuning the arrangements. And to go back to what Anne said, we had these arrangements on the recording, but who can afford to bring in 5 or 6 musicians, number one? And again, it is a different animal. Mm-hmm. So we've been doing little tweaks and saying, well, okay, we did that on the CD. We don't have to do that here. It's live. Oh, you didn't play in this song. I think you should play on this song because we don't have a sax player, So that kind of detail work we've been doing really inspired me. And the second thing is, even though 2 years ago I had read Streisand's autobiography, I got a free Audible subscription. So I've been listening to it. And
it's
just
incredible.
Listening to her process has been an inspiration, because sometimes, especially because it's been 13 years, I think, are you making the right decisions? Are you trusting your instinct? Is this the right moment? All those things that go through every performer's mind. And listening to her process of doing an album or making a movie, I thought, oh, okay, yeah, she's been a major influence on you anyway. She's the reason I ever opened my mouth to sing. And I thought, okay, you've got to trust your instinct. So that's what I got from her, is trusting your instinct. If it happens to be wrong at some point, that's okay. You went with your gut. And unless you do it, you don't know if it's right or wrong, right?
I want to mention a series that if none of you have seen it, that I highly recommend. It's called Actors on Actors. And it's done through Variety.
Oh, that's great.
They're on YouTube. And I was watching an interview. It's a conversation between Audra McDonald and Jake Gyllenhaal the other day. Mm-hmm. And they were both talking about their process. And then there's one with George Clooney and Patti LuPone. Mm-hmm. And they're just sitting talking about the process. And I've also, I'm a YouTube junkie, and I go down the rabbit hole. I turn on my smart TV. I go to YouTube instead of watching the news, and it takes me down a rabbit hole because things come up based on my likes. And I've been listening to Bruce Valanche, who is a colleague of Shelley's, and you've done, and him writing for so many people. So my next question, Shelley, is going to go to you based on what Frank just said. He
Okay.
said the one thing that he dislikes the most is writing patter. And that is an area that you are an expert in.
Well, I write patter for everybody.
That's
and
what I
my-
was going to
my
say.
my shows are very heavy on patter.
What advice do you give to people, obviously, if in this crazy world of cabaret, when someone can, hire someone to come in and write their patter, that's always a good idea. But if someone cannot afford to hire someone to come in and do that, what advice do you give to someone who absolutely does not like to do that aspect of the show?
Well, different shows can offer different amounts of patter. I don't want to go to a show and have someone just sing a song and sing a song and sing a song and sing a song and not comment on it, because that's not cabaret. That's a recital. Cabaret is a first person in every sense of the word medium. So whatever you're doing, it has to be in your voice. And that for me is the fun of working with people. And I've worked with people who have never done a show before. And I've worked with, major A-list film and Broadway stars. But it's finding something that's in their voice. What does this song say to you? Why are you singing it? I've seen shows where people are saying, well, I'm singing this song because my dog died. No, maybe not. Can we get a little, so just don't censor yourself. Just listen to your heart. There's a reason you're singing this particular song or presenting this particular song to an audience. It touches your soul. It touches your heart. Why? And figure out what you're comfortable with sharing with an audience. And that makes a great show. And Janice, I have a song for you. I don't know who wrote it, and that's shame on me. But Betty Hutton made it popular. It's called It's Oh So Quiet. You must find it. You must sing it.
It's oh so quiet.
That's great.
I'll write it down.
Elvira, that may be my agent calling. Elvira,
Yes, dear.
the question for you, and I want to talk specifically about the performing aspect of your career. I know that you had this other incredible career as well, but when it comes to the performing, who do you consider the best teacher that you've had in this business, and what made them the best teacher?
Oh, Jesus.
On the spot.
Okay. So, so I, years ago when I wanted to be, I was an actress, and before I, got into my job that actually made money. So I would, but as far as performance now, I'm still very, very nervous about performing. And I don't know if this will quite answer your question, but performances like an Audra McDonald in Gypsy.
Who, by the way, excuse me for interrupting,
That's okay.
said she is nervous before every single performance
Well,
because she doesn't know if her voice will sustain itself.
So funny you should say that, because there was something on Instagram where I follow her on Instagram. And that is my biggest fear. My biggest fear, I know, is always that we're just going to screw up. And I have screwed up. And I just love when other people screw up, because it makes me feel so much better. And so to hear someone like an Audra say what she said on Instagram about being nervous and can only do what she can do, and it just gives me the confidence, and I try to think about that constantly, that we're not perfect. And what we get up there, and actually some of the biggest screw ups that I've had on stage, those people thought they were endearing and I did a great job in doing it. And because I was authentic. I wasn't thinking I was authentic, but at the end of the day, when we do things like that, I have to think first that I'm just being me. And that's probably my greatest strength, is being me.
That's great. I was watching an interview the other day with Sally Struthers, and she said when she made her Broadway debut in Wally's Cafe with James Coco and Rita Moreno, she had this costume change, and it was a big costume change for the second act. and she's in the wing. She does the costume change and everything. And she said she's listening and she's hearing dialogue on stage that she had never heard before. And they're just going on and on and on, and they're dancing and they're, having a conversation. And she said she realized that she had blown it. She was still supposed to be on stage with them instead of going off to do this costume change. But the thing that she learned about her in that moment was that nobody died.
Yes.
And, you fix it and you go on the next night and you got through it and everything.
Mm-hmm.
So Janice, as I said earlier, you're the kid on the block here. So what is the one thing that you're learning about yourself that is surprising you the most about what you are creating on stage? And by the way, you made your debut last night.
Yes.
So how did it go? And what was that like?
Well, I think it's hard it's hard for me to say I'm proud of myself, but it's not something I often feel, but I'm really proud of myself. The audience was amazing. What I told myself before I went up was, I'm just going to take each moment to moment.
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to show up, and I've done the work, and, it worked for me, because I know if I get ahead of myself, it's not going to work the right way. And it was also, I was just thinking, I can't articulate this, but it's like a moment in time. These people are here to see me. There's a band on the stage. I'm singing. You can't do anything else but be in the moment. And I felt it served me really well. So that's what I'm going to do on Tuesday when I have my second show. But I've always been in a strange self-assuredness I've had, although I'm an introvert. No one believes that, but so I didn't surprise myself, because I did what I do in life, which is I kind of get very calm inside. And I usually just say, let's just be in the moment. It's going to be okay.
That's wonderful. Well, I always feel that those people that are in the audience are there because they want to be there to support you. I don't think anyone shows up to see you fall on your face. So good for you. That's great. And congratulations, by the way.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
Anne, that was the question I asked you. Anne, tell me about 3 people in the industry outside of the people that you're working with that you really admire, and you're only going to pick 3. I know there are many that you do, and what it is about their art that you admire.
Well, first one that popped in my head is Anne Hampton Callaway. It's not just that she is such a smooth singer, but she is such an accessible personality on stage. There is just no separation. And then when we're off stage, we're not friends, we're acquaintances, but she treats me like a friend. She emails me sometimes and I'm like, oh my gosh, like I can't believe but I mean, that's who she is, right? And so I kind of aspire to develop some of those skills that she has. So she would be the first. The second, I'm just going to do who drops into my head. Maybe they're not my first if I thought about it. My second would be Billy Stritch. Again, I've seen Billy do a lot, and my husband and I were at the Cape last summer, and we saw that Billy and Nicholas King were performing, and so we said, okay, let's go and see them. And I've seen Billy during the pandemic. I watched him a little bit. I've seen him plenty at Birdland, but there was something about seeing him at the post office in Provincetown. And he was so delightful. And when the show was over, very similar to Anne Hampton Callaway, I guess I'm attracted to this. He was so generous, and so kind and so available, and I was like, oh my gosh, you just performed, how did, I just really, you have to be damn talented to be able to do all of that. And then I guess The third person, again, Meg Flather.
Yes.
I will never forget when I saw, well, she and I have known each other, oh my gosh, 40 years. I had no idea she was doing cabaret. We lost touch with each other, but I love a lot.
Did something just explode?
Not in my house.
No, it's okay here.
Again, it's never the mistake, it's how you handle it.
Good
Oh, but it's
Shelley.
okay.
Meg Flather.
Yeah, so her show about her mother, I was a puddle.
Mhm.
I was an absolute puddle. And I just admire her storytelling. I admire her songwriting. Tracy Stark, I like her songwriting too. But I mean, there's, yeah.
That's great. And we're going to do one more round, and then you're all going to have a chance to have your final word of the day, which I'll talk about in a moment. So one thing that's really frightening me is that in
Only
just
one?
a matter of days, one thing is that in a matter of days, we are going to be in the 5th month of this year. And I cannot believe how this year seems to be just flying by so fast. And my question for you, Frank, is do you make New Year's resolutions? And if so, have you kept them this year?
I do not. I absolutely hate New Year's Eve. I shouldn't, because it was the night that I met my future husband for 33 years.
Yes.
But I find the idea that going from December 31st to January 1st is such a big deal. You know, there's a it just continues. It's not like that year it just stopped and everything that happened is you forget about. I mean, you bring whatever good and bad from the previous year into the new year. So I've never made a New Year's resolution just because I avoid the whole thing. I can't even tell you when the last time I was awake at midnight.
Wow.
I cannot tell you what that was. Bill's been gone for 4 years, and I know for at least 3 or 4 years before that, we never saw midnight. Because it's just
midnight.
It's just midnight.
Right.
Oh, another midnight.
But
You
you
know,
were
there's going to
together.
be another one
That's
tomorrow.
It's another midnight.
Yeah.
Okay, Shelley, the question for you is, if you repeated today for the next 100 days,
Oh God.
would your life be better or worse?
If I repeated today, well, it means I'd be with you guys constantly. It would be
There
very
you go. Oh, I guess
we
it's
have a
worse.
pineapple party like on Severance. Every day, I'm going to get a little fortune cookie here. Every day we do repeat everything. It's how we repeat it.
Right.
You know, if we live in lockstep, then we've already died.
Right.
So, but to piggyback a little bit on what Frank was saying, I never look at arbitrary, you know, it's my birthday, so I have to do this, or it's New Year's Eve, I have to do this. I've been looking at life in terms of acts, because again, we're all show people and we all work in shows. And although I am, you know, youth eternal, I'm in my 3rd act. And I realized fairly recently that that's really cool, because the 3rd act is where the story comes together and where everything has to make sense. And all the stuff you learned in Act 1 and Act 2 are coming to make Act 3. You know, the guns on the wall have to go off, although in a peaceful and loving way. So that is what excites me. That's what keeps me going. And I've never been busier than, particularly in the last 2 months. It's been crazy, and I'm very, very, very grateful. So particularly in such turbulent times as we're in, I try to look, you know, quote a little McCartney lyric, let's all find ways to take a sad song and make it better.
I love that. Wow, great. Oh, I can't believe I pulled this card. So, what fashion brands, this is for you, Elvira, what fashion brands do you wear or do you advocate?
Oh, so I let's see. Well, now that I'm actually not working for Jones New York anymore, that I did war for 30 some odd years, and and I'm more casual than I've been. I was in the corporate world, so funny enough, I like Zara.
Mhm.
And I like Chico's. And I like I'll go into I know I'm a big TJ Maxx lover. I love my TJ Maxx stuff because you can get actually so many brands that are there. And then I like online. And funny you should mention that, as I was looking through my 100 pairs of shoes, trying to go through my closet yesterday. I've always been a consumer, and I've actually used that for a clothes horse. So I do run the gamut from a Target straight up to a Laura Piano or something like that. So I've always been fortunate that I could wear all sorts of different kinds of clothes.
That's great. Janice, since you've started on this path to do this show, do you have a daily routine leading up to showtime? And if so, has it become a habit, or is it a chore, or is it just unfolding as we speak?
Well, I'm actually someone who does love things like resolutions and New Year's Eve, and I do have a morning routine. I have it written on a piece of paper on my wall, and it's a little elaborate, but it involves stretching and yoga and Pilates, and I even have wash up, brush your teeth, make sure the dishes are clean. I have about 10 things that are in my morning routine. Sometimes I skip one of them, which is walk 12 flights to the roof, to walk up the stairs and get some air. But so I am a big routine person, and I did take the week off from work for the first show, and I just did I like to meditate. I did all my practices, uninterrupted by getting pulled into office work or anything. So yeah, and I made sure I had a lot of healthy food for breakfast and lunch, and then just a snack bar at 4 the day of the show. So yes, it was I would say my whole week was very programmed to be my best. Yeah.
So Anne, the question for you is, since starting, let's go back to your first cabaret show to where you are now. And what has changed in the industry for you that you absolutely love? And what has changed in the industry that you absolutely abhor or despise?
Well, from when I first started, which was about 7 or 8 years ago, I'd have to say the thing that I love the most is that more people want to work with me. And that is very satisfying, and it's exciting. And, I've always been a yes girl, and I've just been waiting for people to be able to say yes to. So it's like, I'm incredibly grateful that is really beginning to happen. As far as what I dislike the most is, boy, I'm gonna get some bad emails, but are we talking about the cabaret world? We're talking about the cabaret world, right?
Yes.
Yeah. So I just think that the onus of the very existence of cabaret being on the performers 90% is absurd. And I wasn't there in the beginning, but I hear that there were things that the venues did that helped keep the quality and engaged them and all this different stuff. And I just feel like it just keeps being put on the performer, and it makes my head explode. I literally don't know why. I mean, 54 Below can't exist without us. And yet, you know, I really struggle with what's happened between the relationship of venues in general and the performer.
Yeah.
Please
Well,
don't email me, folks.
Yep.
No. Well, I totally
I agree.
agree with you. And, you know, it's, you know, but there was a time, but we weren't pulled in so many different directions also, the way we are now with social media and everything happening with that. But, you know, there was a time where there were listings in the Times and there were listings in, you know, other things. But we are all lucky that we have Cabaret Scenes that gives us
Oh,
those
thank
Sure
you.
do.
so thank you,
Thank
Frank
you.
Dain, for that.
Thank you.
So
Yes,
I
friend.
want to thank you
Love it, love
all
it,
for
love it.
being here. I'm going to give, and I'm not calling it a shameless plug because it may be shameful, but I am going to be at the renovated
Oh,
Laurie
fabulous.
Beachman.
Yeah.
Everything you always want to know about Richard Skipper, but we're afraid to ask. And I love it. Yesterday
They'll
we
shut
had
the town down if you say all of that.
what was that?
Richard. They'll shut the town down if you say all of that.
they'll shut the town down. It was so funny. We had a rehearsal yesterday, and I want to talk about teamwork because I've got Dan Pardo and James
Oh,
Beeman, and James Beeman and I have such a long history. I just love him, and we're rehearsing yesterday, and it was the first time I tried this show out at the San McGundy Club in March, but it was the first time he was seeing it unfold, and he even put into our running order the show. Me stepping to the footlights and saying, okay, I know there's someone out there who's afraid to ask this next question. So I want to know who you are and what that question is. And really putting it out there. So it's exciting for me. I love each and every one of you, and you all inspire me all the time. I'm going to give you a chance to have your closing word today. It can be about something we talked about that you want to build upon, something that we didn't talk about that you wish we had, or just any final message you want to leave with anyone. I want to mention, and I want you to think about something Frank mentioned, Barbra Streisand's audiobook, and that's one of my favorites. But I am reading, because I'm leading a book group, based on this book, maybe backwards, but it's the Let Them Theory. And the basic premise of the Let Them Theory, especially in today's world, is so much is happening. We have no control over what's happening around us. But what we do have control over is how we respond to what's going on around us.
Oh,
And that's the basis of the Let Them Theory. So think about this for a moment as I give my final statement of the day, of a book or something that has inspired you, with a lesson that you want to share with anyone. It could be a book, a writer, anything that you want to share. But I always leave my shows with the same message, and that is to go out and do something nice for somebody else without expecting anything in return. I used to say go to your Facebook friends list, but I've left Facebook, which, by the way, I'm very happy about. And I'm more focused than I have been in years by making that decision. But we all get emails. So what I would like to ask each and every one of you, the 6th email that you get today after the show, rather than responding with another email, pick up the phone and call that person and have a conversation and let them know the impact that they're making on your life, if that's applicable. Yes, but just have those conversations, because it's very important. I'm finding, especially now as I'm in the third act, that those conversations mean more to me than they've ever met. Dinners, going together with shows, going to see Frank Dain, going to see Anne, going to see Janice, Elvira. Reach out and see if any of your friends want to join you. Make it a party. Go out, see the show, then go to Joe Allen's or something afterwards and have a conversation about what you just saw. But really engage with one another on a level that I think we're getting away from. But what I want to say is, as I say at the end of all my shows, that my dear friend Sean Moniger says we're all in the same storm, but we're in different sized boats. And I always say, I don't care what size boat you're on, as long as you have a skipper by your side. And with that, I'm going to leave the screen, and I'm going to turn it over to you, Elvira. And when you finish, you'll pick the next person. And when the last person says goodbye, I will end the show, so you don't have to worry about how to end this. So, Elvira, it's all yours. And thank you all for being here.
Thank you, Richard.
Thank you, Richard, for having us today. Thank you for having me. Well, I'm actually reading Barbara Cook's biography, and a little bit to what Shelley said. This is I feel like it's my second or third act, and she is probably one of the inspirations on where you can be, how you can start out, how you can kind of get through the middle, and now and then just have wonderful things happen. So, and keep moving. I think that's the other thing for me. I need to get up every day and keep moving, whether it be outside walking, whether it be just moving towards my next show, moving towards people that maybe I haven't seen for a while. And I love the fact that I'm in this third, fourth, fifth, whatever the hell act it is, but I'm very excited to be here. And I'm also very happy to meet everybody who I haven't met, with Shelley and Janice. And have a great day. Thank you. And thank you for having me, Richard.
I think you have to pick.
Oh, I'm supposed to say Ann. I'll say you.
All right. Well, okay. So I've been thinking about this, which is probably why it's at this is what I'm going to choose to talk about, which is I've got a third album that I'm working on, and we're at the point now where we're finishing it up. And I have chosen to dedicate it to my mother. My mother passed away last year. We're getting close to her year anniversary, which I'm not looking forward to, but, and my mother was the songbird in my home. And, I just, admired her as a human being so much. And, we put our hearts into our albums, and there's something special when you find that relationship that can give you that little extra oomph. And I felt that way when I was listening to Frank's album, because I know that Frank, you dedicated it to Bill Sensen, right? And some of those songs in there, I was just like, oh my gosh. I just thought it was so full, so rich with heart and love, and so beautifully communicated. And I think it helps us to think of people who inspire us to bring that part of our creativity out. So that's what I would say is, the type of thing that inspires me, which is people who can do that for you. So thank you so much. It was fun to be a part of all of this.
Thank you, Ann.
And I am going to hand this over to Janice.
Okay. Oh gosh. I guess. So I follow this person, Brian Johnson, on the internet since 2018. And something very cool is he started to create an organization he calls Heroic. And he connected a group of us in New York that were following his philosophy online. And I'll kind of cut to the chase. The concept is that you try to show up moment to moment as the best version of yourself. And of course, that takes some thought. But you think about in love, in work, in energy, like what's the best version of me look like? And what that helped me do not too long ago was to be like, I love music. What would that look like if I showed up as the best version of myself with this love I have for music? And then that led me down this path where now I'm doing this solo show. So I know it's not for everyone. It's the thought process doesn't resonate with everyone. But it has really helped me, because every day I know, what's my purpose today? I want to show up as the best version of myself. And I've reflected on it, and I know what that means. And it's really changed my experience of of each day. So I get excited about it, and I like to share that. Yeah, so I think I'll say goodbye on that note, but a pleasure to meet you guys.
Nice to meet you too. You have to pick one of us.
Oh, and I was going to forget to do that. Frank.
Okay, thank you. I was going to start with something else, but Anne made me think of something. And it's that it's so easy for me to stay home and not go out. And my Bill was the opposite. He would go to almost any theater. He may not always stay for both acts, but he would go to any theater. And as I'm working on the show and the CD that was dedicated to him, it's making me.
Oh, Frank. Big hug, Frank. He's there. He's there, always around you.
It's making me want to be a little more like him, to get out there, because when I do enjoy myself. We all know people can make you crazy, you know, and there's a lot of crazy going on right now. But it's really, and I didn't realize this until now. It's making me get out there, and I am in my third act, and as you said, Shelley, to bring all of what we've experienced to this time, and you know, are there only 3 acts? You know, it's not Shakespeare. We don't have 5 acts. We don't have. So let's
get encores past the third act.
Yeah, exactly. You know, so yeah, for the encore, but I need to make this third act something that he would want to stick around for. So
I love that.
Thank you, Richard. Nice to meet you, Shelley.
Answer my friend request.
I will. And I guess I should turn this over to you.
Okay.
Okay. Thank you.
Well, what a great group of people. Thank you, Richard. Just to go on again, what Frank was saying, this lovely lady here, this is my mother. And she inspired me every day of my life, every day that she was with us. She is not here anymore. I've tried to call her on the phone several times this week because I refuse to believe that she's gone. But she taught me that how you treat other people, how you live in the world, how you express yourself, your love, your art, your laughter, your compassion, your kindness, that was what life was about. And that was what she would say, what religion was about. She goes, you know, not all that other stuff. How much you pray doesn't matter. It's how you treat other people. And that's how I try to live. I think in the times we're living in right now, kindness and compassion are revolutionary acts. And I try to bring that to the world. If you're listening to this, find some way to express your own unique fingerprint, creative vision to the rest of the world. It'll make you feel better, but even more important than that, it will enrich the world. And Richard, thank you for having us all here. And everyone, be well.